shot won't fall. Wilson, what looks like over the back. Well,
oh boy.
Jump ball is the call.
Wow. Stephanie White's upset about that. I thought that was over the back. Wow. Watch this. That's a jump ball?
So that was a jump ball. According to the official record, that play, where Lexie Hull executes a perfect fundamental box out and A'ja Wilson comes completely over her back to claw at the ball, resulted in a 50-50 possession. But you saw it. The broadcast crew was stunned. The coaches were irate. And for thousands of you watching, it was the moment a suspicion became a fact. This wasn't just one missed call. This was the boiling point. This was the visual proof of a crisis that's been simmering all season long, a crisis that players and coaches have been complaining about for months behind closed doors. And now, thanks to this one viral clip, those doors have been blown wide open. The players are done being silent. Their frustration on the court, the fury from their coaches on the sideline, it's all part of a larger, unspoken call-out of a league that has let its officiating problems spiral out of control. Today, we're connecting the dots on how this one play became the flashpoint for a rebellion, using the league's own evidence to show how deep the problem runs, and exposing why the WNBA is now facing a credibility crisis it can no longer ignore. We're diving deep into the story that the league hopes will just blow over. So if you're tired of the spin and want to get to the truth, smash that like button to show us we're on the right track. Your support fuels this entire operation. Let's start by deconstructing the anatomy of the play that broke the internet.
This was a big win for the Fever because the Aces were the only team that they had not won at least one game to last season, meaning the Aces swept the Fever last season. They actually haven't won a game against the Aces in 16 games. And they did it without Caitlin Clark. This team is crazy. They are beating the #1 team in the league first. And then they go and beat the Aces, who they haven't won to in 16 games. And they did it without Caitlin Clark, which is just a testament to how this team is finally developing a rhythm.
That's the analyst, in real time, struggling to process what he just saw. Because on its face, the play is simple. It's one of the first things you learn in basketball. As a rebounder, you establish your position first. You put your body between the opponent and the basket. That is your space. Lexie Hull did this by the book. She carved out her territory, sealed off Wilson, and went for the ball. She did everything right. A'ja Wilson, coming from behind, did everything wrong. She didn't fight for position. She reached directly over Hull's shoulders and made contact, impeding her ability to secure the rebound. In any basketball game, at any level, that is an over-the-back foul. It's Indiana's ball, end of story. But that's not what happened. The whistle blew, and the signal was for a jump ball, a call so counterintuitive, so against the very rules of the game that it served as a record-scratch moment for everyone watching. It wasn't a borderline call, it wasn't a 50-50 play that could have gone either way, it was a clear foul that was inexplicably ignored and then transformed into a reward for the player who committed it as the possession arrow gave the ball right back to Las Vegas. This single, easily shareable, visually damning clip immediately became the symbol, the undeniable Exhibit A for the entire officiating controversy that fans have been screaming about all year. It was no longer just a feeling or a conspiracy theory, it was tangible proof. And it was just the tip of the iceberg. But to truly understand the depth of the frustration that boiled over, you have to zoom out from that one play. Because for a massive and growing portion of the WNBA fan base, this wasn't an isolated mistake. It was just the latest and most blatant example of a pattern they have a name for.
Defense is playing phenomenal. Oh my God, it's night and day. I think that Commissioner's Cup gave him swag. Now they're swagging it out. I never seen Natasha Howard so aggressive in my life. This girl is beasting now all suddenly. She is beast moding right now. And Timpson, the rookie, getting block shots, getting steals. Leah Boston is just murking, destroying Aja Wilson. Man, you know, I got a nickname for Aja Wilson, guys. You know what it is? Whistle Wilson. Because this lady is always getting whistles. She's the person with the special whistle, guys. Every freaking time. And then she goes to the free throw line. Freaking free throw merchant. I think she's related to SGA. But anyway, she's not playing that great.
Whistle Wilson. It's a nickname born out of months of observation from the most dedicated fans who watch every game and track every call. It's the embodiment of a widespread belief that Aja Wilson, a phenomenal talent and multi-time MVP, receives a special whistle from the referees, a level of preferential treatment that simply isn't extended to other players. And in this game, the numbers tell a story that's impossible to ignore. Aja Wilson shot 13 free throws. The entire Indiana Fever roster, a team of 12 players, shot just 4 more than that, with 17 attempts as a team. Let that sink in. One player nearly matched the free throw total of an entire opposing squad. This isn't just a fan theory cooked up on Reddit, it's a reality that was unfolding live on the broadcast. Commentators were pointing it out themselves, acknowledging that the whistles seemed to be going one way.
Aja Whistle Wilson. My God, you see how many free throws that lady have? Oh my God, on the stat sheet, she had basically 30 points, but all the free throws this woman got, man, they tried their best to keep the Aces in the game, man, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter, man. They destroyed the Aces. About freaking time the Fever finally beats the Aces, man. And without Caitlin Clark.
He's not wrong. They did try to keep the Aces in the game with that whistle. Even the more measured analysts couldn't deny what they were seeing, admitting that superstars just get a different set of rules.
Aja Wilson, she got a favorable whistle in the second half, but it is what it is. Superstars get the whistle. Unless your name is, 29 points for Aja Wilson, 3 boards, 3 personal fouls, 3 turnovers, 9 for 18 from the field goal. From the field, 11 for 13 from the free throw line. Look at the rest of her team. 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 6 points, 0 points, 4 points, 2 points, 3 points. Dana Evans, 1 for 10, Dana Evans. Oh my.
Superstars get the whistle. It's said like it's a normal, acceptable part of the game, but that acceptance is exactly what's fueling the crisis. When the perception is that the league's biggest stars are protected by an invisible force field of favorable calls, it erodes trust in the legitimacy of the competition itself. That single over-the-back no call wasn't just a blown call, it was the confirmation of this exact fear, that the game's outcome was being influenced by something other than the player's actions on the court. So let me ask you directly. Do you think the special whistle is real? Drop your take in the comments. I want to see what the consensus is. But the most fascinating part of this story? The fans weren't the only ones who thought the officiating was out of control. In a rare moment of unity, both head coaches agreed. Here's where the story moves from a simple controversy into a full-blown league-wide crisis. Because what makes this situation unprecedented is that the fury over the officiating wasn't just coming from the Indiana sideline or from the fans. It was coming from both benches. Think about that. The Las Vegas Aces were the beneficiaries of that baffling jump ball call. They were the team getting the lion's share of the free throws. And yet their own head coach, Becky Hammon, was just as disgusted with the state of the game as everyone else. In her post-game press conference, she didn't blame her players' effort for the physicality. She blamed the referees for letting the game devolve into chaos. Her words were stunning. She said, "I thought they were grabbing and holding us. It's a rugby match, and my team doesn't want to play rugby back, and so we got our ass kicked." Period. That is a bombshell. The coach of the defending champions, whose star player was getting every call, is publicly stating the refs allowed the game to become a rugby match. When the coach on the winning side of the bad calls believes the officials have lost complete control, it proves the problem is systemic. It's not just about bias anymore, it's about a fundamental failure to properly manage a professional basketball game. And while Hammon was fuming about the uncalled grabbing and holding, her counterpart on the Fever sideline, Stephanie White, White was staging her own protest. With just over 5 minutes left in the game and her team up by more than 20 points, she finally had enough.
Like I said, the referees were starting to get on the side of the Aces. They were trying to wheel the Aces back in, and Lexie stepped in and sort of killed it. Kelsey Mitchell never took her foot off the gas tonight, by the way. This is the best thing I've seen from Stephanie White all season long. Right here, she was aggravated by the refs already, and in the fourth quarter, 5:35 left, Stephanie White lost her shit on the sideline. She lost her shit. And let me just play this right here. Roll it.
Lost that lead late.
And she gonna, you see her.
See on Caitlin
You
Clark.
see her just losing it up here. Losing it.
Wilson misses on
And
the
she
three,
got teed up right there.
On the sideline.
And Caitlin Clark.
She lost her shit, as the commentator put it, and earned a technical foul. This wasn't a coach losing her cool in a tight game. This was a calculated message. It was a respected coach on the verge of a historic win, telling the officials, and by extension the league, that their performance was unacceptable. It was a public declaration that what was happening on the floor was not a legitimate basketball contest. And the reaction from her sideline superstar, Caitlin Clark, who jumped up to high-five her teammates, tells you everything you need to know about the team's unified frustration. This was a shared sentiment. From the head coach to the franchise player, they were all in agreement. When you have two opposing head coaches in the same game, essentially calling a vote of no confidence in the officiating crew, it ceases to be a debate. It becomes an undeniable fact. The officials failed, and everyone in that building knew it. And it wasn't the first time this season. That shared anger between the two coaches wasn't born in a vacuum on July 3rd. It was the result of a season's worth of accumulated frustration finally erupting under the brightest lights. For weeks, a narrative has been building behind the scenes, away from the cameras. There is a prevailing belief, reportedly among players and coaches, that WNBA officiating is inconsistent, fails to control overly physical play, and is generally getting worse. Think about Becky Hammon's rugby match comment again. That's the core of the complaint. It's not just about missed calls. It's about a failure to maintain control and protect the players from overly aggressive play that stifles offense and increases the risk of injury. Players have reportedly felt that the league has allowed the games to become a brutal grind, and the rule book is applied differently from one night to the next. This isn't a new fight for some of these coaches. Indiana's Stephanie White has been on the front lines of this battle all season. In fact, she had already been fined by the league for her public criticism of the officiating earlier in the year. Her technical foul in this game wasn't a first offense. It was the continuation of her season-long campaign to hold the league accountable. So what made this game different? The stage. This wasn't a random Tuesday night game. This was the two-time defending champions against the most-watched team in the league. It featured A'ja Wilson, Caitlin Clark, and a roster of other stars. Every camera, every analyst, every fan was tuned in. And on that massive stage, the officiating didn't just bend, it broke. The Wilson Hull play was so egregious, so visually obvious, that it became the perfect, undeniable piece of evidence to represent the entire broken system. It was the flashpoint that took the private complaints of players and coaches and made them the #1 topic of public debate. The frustration that had been simmering in locker rooms and on team buses all year finally had its viral moment. And it was a moment the league could not delete. So how exactly are the players calling out the league? It's a fair question, because it's not always done with a post-game quote or a fiery tweet. To see the real rebellion, you have to watch their actions. You have to read their body language. You have to interpret the frustration that the league forces them to suppress. It starts with Lexie Hull. Look at her on that controversial play. She did her job with textbook precision. She played tough, fundamental basketball, the exact way coaches want you to play. And for her efforts, the officials essentially punished her and rewarded the player who fouled her. Her visible, immediate frustration in that moment, that is a call-out. It's a player in real time, non-verbally screaming, "What more do you want from me? I followed the rules and you still got it wrong." Then you have Caitlin Clark, a player who wasn't even on the court, but whose voice was one of the loudest in the building. Every time the camera cut to her, she was living and dying with every play, coaching and encouraging from the sideline. And when Stephanie White finally drew that technical foul in protest of the officiating, what was Clark's reaction? She was on her feet, smiling, high-fiving her teammates. That is a co-signature. That is the team's franchise player publicly endorsing her coach's act of defiance against the referees. That is a clear and unmistakable message from one of the biggest stars in sports saying, yes, good, they deserve to be called out. We have had enough. Many of you watching have been connecting these same dots on Reddit and Twitter for weeks, and you were on to something. The exasperated looks players give to the refs after a no call, the increasingly hard fouls they have to commit just to get a whistle, the visible slump of the shoulders when a call as bad as the Wilson jump ball is made, that is the language of their protest. If you agree that the players' actions sent a clear message to the league office, hit that like button. That collective, unspoken discontent from players on both teams created a deafening roar. It was a silent, unified call-out that has now put the WNBA in a nightmare scenario. And that brings us to the league's nightmare scenario. The WNBA is now in a crisis of credibility, and it's a crisis of their own making. For months, they've seemingly ignored the simmering complaints from their own players and coaches about the deteriorating quality of the officiating. They let the problem fester. Now that problem has a face. It has a name. It's the A'ja Wilson, Lexie Hull no call, and it's a viral moment that has put the league office under a microscope. The story of this game is no longer just about a stunning upset. It's about the explosive narrative of a broken system that was built around it in the digital space. The collective, unified frustration of players, coaches, and fans has drawn a line in the sand. Silence from the league is no longer an option. In fact, silence will be interpreted as an admission that they know the system is flawed and are unwilling to fix it. The pressure is on, and the entire fan base is waiting to see if the WNBA will take meaningful action, whether through enhanced training, greater accountability, or structural changes, or if they'll just hope that everyone forgets. So what's your take on all this? What do you believe is the single most important change the WNBA needs to make to fix this officiating crisis? Is it about implementing harsher penalties for bad calls, overhauling the training program for refs, or something else? Give me your most detailed solution in the comments section below. The fallout from this is just beginning, and we are going to be tracking every single development. To make sure you don't miss our analysis when the league is inevitably forced to respond, subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell. Finally, if you believe this conversation is critical for the future and the integrity of the game, share this video with another fan. The more people who see this breakdown, the more pressure it puts on the league to stop ignoring the problem and start fixing it. Let them know we are all watching. What do you believe is the single most important change the WNBA needs to make to fix this officiating crisis? Is it about implementing harsher penalties for bad calls, overhauling the training program for refs, or something else? Give me your most detailed solution in the comments section below. The fallout from this is just beginning, and we are going to be tracking every single development. To make sure you don't miss our analysis when the league is inevitably forced to respond, subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell. Finally, if you believe this conversation is critical for the future and the integrity of the game, share this video with another fan. The more people who see this breakdown, the more pressure it puts on the league to stop ignoring the problem and start fixing it. Let them know we are all watching.